Hey everybody, Shane Presley here to tell you about my friend's music record shop. Check them out, 4191A Manchester Avenue in the heart of the Grove, right between the demo and the ready room. Head down there and visit them and pick up some new records. They always new vinyl in every Friday. Lots of great used vinyl, CDs, tapes, and a fantastic local selection. Get on, take a look, pick up some new music. They do a lot of live in stores on Saturdays and all kinds of fun stuff. So get out, support your local record store. Find them online, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, musicrecordshop.com.
Hey, this is Ellesa Vec, and you're listening to Rock Paper Podcast. Make sure to stick around and make sure to support local music.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast, y'all.
Dress upon the bed, slowly laid her head down to break a vow she made to me. Once she did it for the drug, that fucked up thing called love. She tore apart the better part of me. Take down your halo, you fallen angel. Tore apart the better part of me. Take down your halo, you fallen angel. You tore apart the better part of me. I knew that push would come to shove, but I never thought that love would be the thing to come and bury me. Tell me, my dear friends, was it worth it in the end? A life of pain with all your misery. Take down your halo, you fallen angel. You tore apart the better part of me. Take down your halo, you fallen angel. Tore apart the better part of me. So wrap your hands around my throat, oh darling, oh, watch the light fade from my eyes as I'm letting go. Wrap your halo around my neck as I lose control. Watch the light fade from my eyes as I'm letting go. Down your halo, you fallen angel. You tore apart the better part of me. Take down your halo, you fallen angel. You tore apart the better part of me. 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 The better part of me.
Hey everybody, Shane Presley here with Rock Paper Podcast, hanging out in Collinsville, Illinois. Took a little road trip out here to hang out with Ellesa Vec of, did I say that right?
That's Ellesa Vec.
Ellesa Vec. Oh, man, I knew I'd messed something up.
It's all good.
Ellesa Vec. I'm sorry, man. This is our first time meeting, so I'm, this is, I've talked about it in the last couple, it's been happening more and more, which is very cool for me, because I've been, but I'm starting to get more people hitting me up on the, Facebook and the website and everything else, like, and saying, hey, we want to be a part of the show, or this was fan submitted, and so, it's any of that. It's great to see that the show is reaching out, and more people want to get involved, and I'm just riding the wave, man. And so I'm here today to get to meet you and talk about the band Advocating Adam, and so yeah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
So yeah, I guess we'll start. I guess we'll start at the beginning, man. Where'd you get started into music? How'd you find that?
That's an interesting story.
Yeah.
I'm all-American dropout.
Yeah.
So my father worked. He wasn't home a lot, and my mother had things to do, so she wasn't home a lot. Both of them were pastors, and my dad, right before I dropped out, bought a very nice Taylor guitar, and he hid it under his bed. So the second they left in the morning, I went and found the guitar and pulled it out and started playing with it, and started writing a few songs in the top string. Everybody starts out top string, I don't know why. And started writing some stuff. So that's really how I started.
Yeah.
And he eventually, a little bit down the road, after I figured out how to play a bit, he came home and found out I was playing his guitar. He wasn't too happy about that, but he was happier down the line when he found out I could do it pretty good. So that's how I started playing, and from there I don't know. I guess I picked it up from a little bit of my family. We've always been free-spirited, entrepreneurial kind of people. So the first thing to do when you write lyrics and have a guitar is start a band. So
sure.
I found people that didn't know how to play music, friends and stuff like that, and said, hey, do you know how to play bass? No. Well, that's fine. All you have to do is have a beat and, use a top string. So me and my friends started a band together, and we sucked horribly at it. And years went by, and some of us got better, some of us didn't. And we got rid of the ones that didn't get better and kept replacing and rebuilding and replacing and rebuilding. And that's how I got into music.
Sure, man. What do you recall the first song you wrote?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
It was probably depressing.
Right.
I don't recall the first song I wrote. I've written so many songs.
Sure.
It's not even funny. It's a funny thing because people want to hear all the stuff behind the scenes with music, and they don't realize that 90% of what a songwriter writes you probably don't want to listen to.
Yeah.
So I have no idea, man. It probably sucked.
It is. That's one thing I do find. Like you're talking about the behind the scenes, but I love the evolution of it. Even though it might not be great, but like hearing like a demo or a scratch track or something, kind of, and hearing just like the bare bone of a song, and then watching it come to life. Saying like the evolution of it, and it just something as I've gotten older, I just really appreciate. Just I don't know, I'm kind of a nerd in that way with music and stuff. So I
see how things come together over time.
Yeah, and I don't need it super polished. I don't need a flashy, super production of work. I just but even in that raw element, there's that emotion. Saying there's you can feel it, and then it's so much fun to watch it. Like finally reach its full potential.
Everything come together. Yeah. I've always been a very market conscious person, so that being said, I kind of always go the other route where it's like, that's horrible. I prefer people not hear that, you know? And where a lot of artists kind of leave a trail behind them of who they are, where they're from, and where they've been. Yeah. I've worked very hard through the past to make sure that trail doesn't exist. Okay. I guess everybody has their own personal spin on it, and my spin is music to me is like, it's a personal thing. It's a conversation.
Definitely.
If you look into my lyrics and stuff, I'm never telling a story. I'm always having a conversation. Mm-hmm. And the thing about conversations is there is no past or future. There's only present. So with that in mind, I'm one of those people where if it's in the past, I'd prefer it to be lost in the past. Yeah. So I'm a very market-oriented person. I have something I want to say, and that's what I focus on. And everything else I make sure doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So.
Excuse me. Yeah. What? Who's one of the first inspirations to push you into wanting to do this? Who's a guy you looked at and was saying, like, I want to do that? You mentioned something about your family had a little bit of background, but
that's an interesting story. Growing up, like I said, both my parents were pastors. All right. We grew up Pentecostal, non-denominational, and if it wasn't old-time, ragtime country or gospel music, it wasn't allowed in the house. And I didn't really grow up with that AC/DC, Guns N' Roses background. Everybody, people talk about artists, and I'm like, who the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. It's like, I have no clue. Artists I should know, I don't know, because I didn't grow up in that. I grew up with the Gaithers and Garth Brooks and stuff like that. So it's funny because one day my friend snuck through my window. He climbed through my window, and he goes, "You got to listen to this, man." And when I'm not supposed to listen to anything that's not gospel or approved by my family, he snuck in with this CD, and he goes, "You got to listen to this." So we popped the CD in, and the first song I really ever paid attention to outside the gospel realm was One Last Breath by Creed. Yeah. Hold Me Now, I'm 6 feet from the edge. So that's the first song that I put that on repeat for a while whenever nobody was around. And about a week later, he jumps through the window again, and he's got another CD, and he goes, "You got to check this out." And it was Chop Suey by System of a Down. Yeah. And there it was. It was all downhill from there. So I mean, that's a pretty hardcore jump,
Sure, yeah.
Going from Creed to System of a Down.
Right.
So I never, because the way I grew up, I never aspired when I was young to be like a rock star, or I never really admired rock stars, because in my world the only thing that existed was gospel music, the Gaithers, stuff like that. Every single person in my family has played an instrument or sang in church.
Sure.
My mother's family traveled around the Midwest, actually going to church and doing gospel. So I never really aspired to be that rock star. I just liked music. I started playing guitar before I really got into secular music. So
yeah,
it's a little different.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I for one, like my parents, they introduced me to music pretty young, and like I've never been able to play. I'm not I guess if I applied myself, I might be able to learn, but I've never had a natural knack to say, "Hey, man, I'd probably pick up this guitar and try to play it." It just never clicked for me. I did play cornet in the, school band in middle school, and it wasn't any good. And he pretty much said, "Hey, I got to try really hard, or you can go back to PE." And I was like, "All right, I'll see you later." So, but growing up with my parents, they introduced me to a lot of Southern rock. So that's I grew up, I said, with like Skynyrd and Allman Brothers and ZZ Top, and those are. My dad also played a lot of. He had the
Conway Twitty box set, and I used to listen to a ton of that, and
Yeah.
a lot of soul country there too, and but like you're saying, and not having these rock stars around, like there was some of it for me, but like as I'm getting older, I'm still discovering backwards, So
Yeah.
like I love some Led Zeppelin, but I also found out like that all the blues guys that are influenced Led Zeppelin. So I love going back and hearing Robert Johnson and Willie Dixon and stuff. So like I'm kind of, it's just fun to hear where those artists were, who influenced them and things. And even now we're getting people that are, like I said, influenced by even after Led Zeppelin and everything else. But it's just like so they're discovering them, and it's just fun to watch like I said, where everybody comes from, and that kind of the different sectors and stuff, and how it all comes together. But
yeah, it's it's kind of funny because, like I said, rock wasn't really around in my life at a young age. So, and that wasn't until my mid to later teens I started listening to music. And I'm around a lot of musicians now, and they start talking about musicians from different bands. And the first one I could really remember is somebody starts talking about, great drummers, and I want to be like this drummer, I want to be like this drummer. And somebody's like, I would love to be like Neil Peart. And I'm like, who's Neil Peart?
Yeah.
So
Sure.
It's a little different. I dove off after my friend kind of introduced me to some stuff. I started listening to, it was a lot of System of a Down, went out and acquired every album they had out, and then it was, okay, this is a little goofy, let's try something a little closer to home. So I went from that, and 9 Inch Nails, and I kind of went all over the place, but I didn't really go backwards. I kind of picked up with what was going on in the late 90s, early 2000s, and stuck with that. So I've never really got into the classic rock or anything like that. Not that I don't like it, I just never really dove into that. I picked up with where music was and kind of went that direction. But something happened maybe 2004, 2005, where every single band that came out sounded the same in rock. And I started noticing, if I listened to this rock band or that rock band, consecutively, on a day-to-day basis, that my playing style will be altered by it. So I stopped doing that, and where I used to listen to rock 24/7, I stopped around 2004, 2005, and went straight pop. So for me, it's all Taylor Swift, Kesha, Katy Perry.
Sure.
I live by a philosophy that a person's much like a glass. If you pour a bunch of one element into it, that's what they're going to have into them. So if you make an effort not to pour something into your life, then perhaps you can pour something out that's different. So I tend to stick with pop nowadays. Not that I don't like rock, but if I listen to it, I'll sound like it. So I prefer not to.
Yeah, I get that, man. I try to pull from all kinds of stuff. I mean, I don't listen to much radio at all, really. And actually, more and more these days, I'm listening to a lot more of just my friends' music, which is really cool. Just to, I'm obviously doing this show. I'm a big, advocate for local music and things, but also just independent artists. Most of the people I support, are local touring people. There's some national stuff. I mean, I'm not like completely out of it, but I know. But it's just what I prefer. And but for me, it's also that connection, the fact that like I can buy a CD and then I can go and hang out with them, and I can at the shows, and they're approachable and stuff. For me, that Taylor Swift and Katy Perry aren't very approachable. So but that all has a factor for me. It's like the fact that like I have that connection through the music, but I also have the personal connection where I've become friends with these guys that are making the music and stuff. So but there's a little bit of rock, pop, country, funk and jazz. It's all mixed in there. It's like I have
just a love of music.
Yeah,
everything.
So if it's good, I like But there's a lot of I'm very particular about some things. There's different things. Whether it's the singer's voice or the guitar player, or how there's different things that I pick out of each band that I something that stands out to me that makes them different, that separates them, that attracts me to that particular band or artist or whatever it is. But saying I like there's some country musicians I like, but in saying I like all country, there's a lot of stuff that I don't really care for. So it's it's that kind of thing. It's there's people assume that if you like this, well, you gotta like them all. But it's I'm very selective with who I choose to support and stuff. So
I am too. I'm actually. If somebody could follow me around, which granted would be incredibly boring, but if somebody could follow me around and see how I live day to day, they would be surprised that maybe out of 2 weeks, I will play one song once.
Really?
I won't. I don't go out of my way to listen to music anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure out why that is, but my ex-girlfriend, we'd hop into the car, and the first thing she would do is blast the radio.
Sure.
And my brother, we hop in the car, first thing he does is blast the radio. And when I had my car, I hate the radio so much that I thought to myself, well, if the radio doesn't work, nobody can play it. Yeah. So I kind of turned it off. Because I'm a thinker, I like to think. I like to know more about people than I do all the other crap that comes along with, the world. We live in a very digital age, so everybody's like, hey, pay attention to this. This is me. This is me.
Yeah.
But in reality, what they're showing you is very, very far from the truth. It's not them at all. Yeah. So I kind of shut myself off from a lot of music or just everything in general.
I get that.
I prefer to read or watch interviews. I'm an interview watching fool, man.
Sure.
25% of my day is spent on YouTube, at least.
I think I do find myself, along with not listening to radio, I listen to a lot more of these podcasts. This is what influenced me to even get out to start doing this, because I enjoy the art of conversation and
it's a lost art.
Yeah, and the fact that to learn more about the people, the not even, I've had conversations with people that aren't even artists, so it doesn't, it's just who I tend to like talking to a lot. Especially in this, I started with, I had a bunch of buddies that played music, so it was easy to get, various guests to come on the show and stuff, but we've had other people that, involved, just interesting people to talk to. But I listen to a lot of podcasts and other interview-based shows as well, so I get that completely, man. Just getting to know people, and it's just very interesting.
Yeah, and the funny thing about artists is, a lot of people worship or glamorize, dress it up, but some of their lives or a lot of their lives are very boring. They're not that glamorous. And the truth is, the only difference between an artist and any other person in the world is we're public about the things that everybody else is private about. Yeah. And it may be by choice, it may be by, hey, I just don't know how to say it, or I don't know how to play it. The only difference between an artist and somebody else is we both feel the same thing. We're just public about it for whatever reason. So
I got to talk to a comic one night, and like I was saying, it was off the stage. People would assume that he's got things going on. He's funny. Because he's up here telling jokes and stuff. But we sat in his hotel room, and recorded, and off mic, or like the whole off stage, the persona and everything. Like, it was very depressing to see the daily life of what a touring comic is going through. It's like, granted, it's I think that's that personal case. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there's other guys that are obviously doing things very different. But,
Yeah.
but you're saying the artist, there is a lot of, it's not always rock shows the whole time, or or telling jokes or whatever, but there's a lot of that downtime where it's could be pretty sad. And,
it could drive a person nuts.
Yeah.
The funny thing about music is, the hardest thing with music is not learning how to play an instrument or learning how to sing or even learning how to market yourself. The hardest thing with music is learning not to drive yourself crazy with it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't figure that out. But
Right.
that's the secret to music. Don't drive yourself crazy.
Yeah.
So
Have you figured it out yet?
not by a long shot.
Yeah.
I just I have a habit of kind of laughing to myself and going, at least you're breathing.
Yeah.
And then I say, well, that's a matter of opinion. So just try not to care.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know, man. So let's talk about some of these songs, because I was listening to you got a lot of your stuff up on the SoundCloud, and I was listening, and I really liked your Holy of Holies, and I like Other Side a lot. That's a lot of what I find myself listening to, more of that kind of vibe, like singer-songwriter kind of stripped down, kind of a acoustic kind of vibe to things, and I do I like I don't know, but yeah, just anyway that kind of thing. So anyway, what let's start with those two songs.
Holy of Holies, we'll start with that one. That's really hard to put into words, because the truth is it's already put into words.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But to go into its meaning and everything, it's pretty much a song about what do you do when the person you love and adore is literally your heaven.
Yeah.
And when they're gone, you're in hell. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Sure.
So when you put somebody in a place like that in your life and they're gone, it does more than create a void. It creates a vacuum that sucks away everything that's that makes a person worth being a person. Mm-hmm. It takes away not only joy, but it takes away identity. Honestly, I was in a long relationship with a woman, and it did not work out.
Yeah.
Obviously, because here I am singing some sad shit, but it didn't work out. So what happens is you live your life with somebody, and when they walk away, you have to literally go through a phase of who am I without you? And a lot of my lyrics are adjacent to the things I've learned in my youth with non-denominational Pentecostal foundation. And in the Bible, the Holy of Holies is the most sacred place in all the universe. It's where God resides. So the whole meaning of that was, you're my Holy of Holies. You are the most sacred thing in my world, in my universe. And living without that becomes very difficult. You have to reinvent yourself. So that's really what that song's about. Understanding that maybe the absence of that is more of a hellish situation. So
sure. I listened to Halo right before or right after that. Yeah, it was. It was a very funny kind of contradiction to him. You know, like to go from this a very slow like love song and then to the opposite.
Yeah.
So they're very polar differences.
The funny thing is with Halo, I started off with the line, she threw her dress upon the bed and slowly laid her head down to break a vow she made to me. And then the chorus is, for anybody that hasn't heard it, it's so take down your halo, you fallen angel, you tore apart the better part of me.
Right.
I don't find it as a contradiction, because I've come to a weird place in life where love and hate are one and the same.
Yeah.
There's no difference, and I even say that in a song Bedlam, that there's no difference between love and hate, because it's true. Emotions are almost useless when it comes to telling a story, because truth is something that can take on many appearances, but it never changes. So for me, Holy of Holies and Halo are the same conversation in different emotions.
Right.
From going to You're My Holy of Holies to Take Down Your Halo. And the reason for that is it's a continuum. When you talk to somebody, you might start off your day like, hey, how are you doing? It's nice to see you. And then from there, it escalates or de-escalates based on the situation. So Halo, for me, like I said, it's in the same vein as Holy of Holies. I'm having a conversation with the same exact person about the same exact topic. Mm-hmm. And Halo, if you listen to them in sequence, I would say Halo comes first.
Okay.
Because for anybody that's been in a love-lost relationship, it goes from anger to resentment, and then it just goes downhill quick into your regret and depression and all that. So while the human mind might say, I need you gone, the soul says, I need you here. Yeah. So those conversations and those songs are one and the same. They're different sentences in the same paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So what about the other side? Where does that fall in that conversation?
Oh man, other side. Let me think about that one for a minute. That's
because I listened to that about 4 or 5 times on the drive down here. I really enjoyed that quite a bit.
The other side is an older song, and it would come early in the conversation. It would come before the ugly breakup and farewell. Being a musician, I have relationship issues with women. So what they see is this guy on stage. He's covered in sweat, screaming into a microphone, jumping around. Hey, I hope you're having a great fucking night. Blah blah blah. So they fall in love with that persona, and then it's like, you're boring at home. Let's go to the bar. Yeah. Or they don't understand there's a life outside the party. Right. And I'm 29 years old, and I've done the party and drink and all that. So my life now is focus on what I want out of life, and all the rest is kind of crap. So the other side is a story of a guy who's seen the world, and that's where the lyrics are coming in. All your demons are made of gold, all your angels are made of stone. And it's from the outside looking into the world, saying everything you value is meaningless, and if this is the world you live in and this is the world you value, then I'm better off not being a part of it. Yeah. So it comes before, the love loss and the anger and resentment of the other two songs. It's the logical side of me saying I'm better off without you, and the other two songs are the illogical side that say, hey, maybe not.
Right. What? So you do play a lot of these by yourself, right? So like as a solo artist, and then you have the band.
It's kind of a weird thing. I did the one pop show on piano by myself, which was the first time I'd ever done it, and it was an absolute, personal travesty to me. It drove me insane because I'm used to having people on stage with me.
Sure.
And that music is very personal and vulnerable. So that was the first time I did it. And other than that, I've always had a band,
right,
backing me. So while both exist, they exist in the same realm as each other. We fully anticipate what's going to happen when Advocating Adam starts doing shows again. Is there's going to be a moment where the band steps off stage and the piano takes over. I don't want them to be separate, because to me, if they're separate, then something's wrong. I should be the same no matter where I'm at. So it's one and the same, but I divide them online because some people like aggressive hard rock, some people don't.
Right. Some
people like depressing piano, and some people don't. So I divide them where people can pick and choose what they want to listen to, but at the end of the day, they're one and the same.
Yeah.
So
when you were saying that, you're talking about that pop show. There's a lyric you said. I'm standing on the stage, pouring my heart out.
Yeah.
And that all came to mind.
That's in the song Sinner.
Yeah.
And that's actually a fun song,
Right.
with a little bit of truth to it. The funny thing about being an artist is almost everything I say is morbidly true. Sometimes you have to dig a little deeper to understand why it's true. But other times things are amplified because, let's be honest, it's art,
Sure.
So that whole song is about a guy who's devoted his life to music, and he's on stage and neglected, love, the people around him. So that line, 5 nights a week, I'm standing up on a stage, pour my heart out to a room that barely knows my name, while your mother sits at home and holds her telephone, praying that someday God will bring me home. And it's not so much about music only. It's about whatever in life. So I have a cousin of mine whose father was always away doing this or that for business, and he would see him maybe once a month. I have a lot of people in my family in the military, so they would be gone, and you would see them maybe once or twice a year. Sometimes not even for that. So that song to me isn't so much about music as it is about what a man chooses to do with his life and how it affects those he loves. Because sadly, the world we live in, sometimes to be able to live into it, logic has to take over, more than love. You can't just be like, I love you, let's Netflix and chill. You got to be like, I love you, and because I love you, I have to go. I have to be a truck driver, I have to be in the military, or I have to go on tour, or I have to do whatever. Yeah. So that's what that whole song's about.
I find it very relatable in my own life. With like I said, doing this show and going to concerts and everything else, I feel like there's that same sort of a hustle, like where we all got doing what we got to do, but there's I think about it like my wife's at home. She doesn't go to a lot of the shows with me and stuff, so it's like, so I definitely could relate to that one.
Yeah.
lyrics. But what you were saying about the live show, the band, and then just having the piano and stuff. I kind of feel like there's a lot of people kind of doing various forms, but like even I saw Black Keys in concert a while back, and those guys started as just a duo,
Yeah.
And but as you watch them live, now they've got several different to create these more production in the studio. They have to have more players on the stage live with them to create these songs live. And so there's usually 2 or 3 other guys that come out with them, another guitar player and everything else.
Yeah.
And then, but usually at some point in the night, those guys step off, and it's just Patrick and Dan, and then those two just do what they do best, So I think that is cool. To offer some dynamic to a show too, to have it. You're going to rock, and then you're going to strip it down for a song or two or whatever it is, and then bring it back at the end of the night and that kind of stuff. I think that'd be a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, see, we're going to do that, and it's kind of funny because I've been in and out of the music scene in St. Louis. So 2009, 10, 11, we were hitting it really hard, and then I vanished until 2015. So there's a huge gap there, and back in the past, I was a much different person. A single day can change a person's life dramatically, so imagine what 4 to 5 years can do. So I was a much different person, and I used to think, well, I want to do this and this, and I want people to see this, and this out of me. So I was very direct in my ignorance of what I wanted people to see and how I wanted them to think and feel and all this stuff. So, but coming back into it, I kind of had a conversation with myself, and it's like I used to be like, well, every song needs to line up. They all have to be in the same genre. They all have to mesh well together. And now I've got to the point where I don't care. I really don't care.
Yeah.
So if I want to get up on stage and play hard rock on the verge of metal, and then turn around and play a piano song, to make everybody in the room cry, I should be able to do that.
Sure. Yeah.
Me and my guys have went out and spent our time passing out the tickets and promoting the show. So for me, I've come to a point where I don't care what people think anymore. If I want to do something, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. So now I'm a lot more open. So I don't try to fit everything in a box like I used to anymore.
And I think that's fantastic. I think that's what it needs to be. I wish more and more people would do that, because too many people, obviously. A record label probably is going to tell you that they want you to do something different. All has to sort of sound the same and that kind of stuff like that, and so they can get you on the radio play and everything.
Yeah,
whatever it is. But those days are very, very far.
Those days are pretty much gone. And the beautiful thing is, where it used to cost $500,000 for a studio, I could do the same thing with $2,000.
Yeah,
and some guys, if they're talented and dedicated enough, can do the same thing with a few $100s.
Yeah, sure.
So I think the days of major labels are gone. Yeah. There's nothing with passion and care and dedication. There's nothing a label can do for you that an artist cannot do for themselves.
Yeah.
So, when I was younger, it's like, okay, be a badass band and somebody will sign you. I don't think like that by a long shot anymore. It's make our own music, make our own album, package our own album, sell it. If people like it, sell it more. Tour, go here and there. Get on the road, boots on the ground. I no longer believe in the big money guys anymore.
Right. Yeah. There are. I think kind of the place to be. There's a lot of great independent labels that are are doing great things. This is nice to have some support.
Yeah.
Especially if you get out on the road or doing music videos and things like. It's nice to have some people supporting you along the way and having those connections and whatnot. But it's like, we do live in that era of the DIY artist. It's like even even look at even YouTube, how many people have like been started just putting themselves out there on YouTube and stuff, and then you find a following that way. But it's there's all sorts of different ways to make it. It's not quite the same as it used to be with everybody hoping that label is going to find them, or the talent scouts and things.
Yeah.
But no, a lot of my buddies, like you're saying, are doing the same thing here in St. Louis. It's fun to see that people are doing it and they're actually being successful at it. But yeah, making their own records in like home studio kind of stuff, and if you, like I said, you got the right guy, you can make a badass record for a couple, for a lot less money than it used to be. Yeah, and then you get some duplication and you get your own stuff going and stuff. Yeah. So.
I saw an interview, and it's amazing to me how many people liked this video. And I've got nothing wrong with the guy at all. I respect him a lot. But Dave Grohl said in an interview that music's not about this, not about that. It's about guys getting in a garage, they suck together, they go out, they get better, they play shows, and people start liking them, and then they get signed. Well, that's awesome, Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
But that world does not exist anymore.
Sure.
We need the social media. We have hundreds of thousands of bands per region.
Yeah.
That world doesn't exist anymore. If you want to make a living with music, you need to be dedicated. You need to use every tool at your disposal, because even though the major labels exist still, they're not finding people like they were. They're making people. Look at the Biebers, man. I mean, come on.
Sure.
They don't care about good music. They care about profits and revenues. So
yeah,
I don't believe, even though a lot of people admire him and Dave Grohl is totally worth respect, I don't agree with him full-heartedly.
Oh, yeah.
I think if somebody wants to be a professional musician, there's a lot of work in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not all of us can be in Nirvana, and,
No, we can't.
Yeah, but no, I don't know. I do like Foo Fighter stuff, but it blows my mind that they're as huge as they are. Like, I mean, I think they're very talented, but it's like the fact that they're probably one of the top selling acts in the country. So, it's just kind of, they're like one of the last great rock bands, I guess, kind of thing. Of that, because we don't even hardly have rock bands anymore. There's a lot of pop stars and country stars. That's those are the ones that are selling out the arenas and the all the stuff. So it's
I learned a few years back to stop being surprised at people's success.
Yeah,
because success is interesting. People like things for whatever reason.
Sure.
So I stopped being surprised by people's success.
Usually whatever radio tells them to like. So
and there's a lot of money that goes through people's hands to make sure that certain things come out on top.
Want to make sure a song gets played 2 or 3, 4 times an hour.
But also the other side of that was there's something happened in rock. 2000, like I said, 2005, 6, 2004. I don't know when it started, but something happened in rock where everything kind of stopped. There was a cutoff point, and the bands that existed are still the bands that people admire and look to and want to find tour dates for today. Yeah. 9 Inch Nails, Tool.
Sure.
I'm sure if Scott Stapp wouldn't have got drunk on stage and pissed everybody off, people would still be loving Creed. But the bands that were already, solidified in the market they are today what people still, their go-to groups.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with stylism and where the market went. Like MTV and Fuse and VH1 started pushing this super glamorous boy rock pop bands, so, and everything started sounding real high pitch and, happy slappy and party music.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about rock is, if you put it on a spectrum about what a rock star or a rock musician will write or talk about, the difference is phenomenal based against country or rap. Okay, so I don't hate all country, but most of it, I'll admit.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's write a country song. You need alcohol, girl, babe, darling, a truck, a dog, or somebody's getting shot. Leave your lover, or I left my lover, or somebody cheated on me, or I cheated on somebody.
Yeah.
In rap, now there are a few good country artists with good lyrics out there that go beyond that spectrum, and there are a few, very far and few between rap artists that go beyond the rap spectrum. But what they talk about is, money and hoes and drugs and balling and gaming and hustling, and I think that's what happened with the rock industry, was because the popularity of those two genres, rap and country, they were very stylized. They were like, okay, well, this sells, this is the formula, this is what all our signed artists are going to do from now on. So both those genres went in that direction, and they had a massive following of whatever. I don't even want to get into that. But they had those massive followings, and I really think the record companies, MTV and VH1 and these guys tried to take that formula and apply it to rock. And so what we had all of a sudden was every other song that came out was party rock. It was, let's go to a party and get drunk. Let's check my girlfriend out. We're doing so many drugs it ain't funny. And I think the individuality of rock music disappeared. Where rock music used to tackle anything from, addiction problems to love to politics to, if you talk to the lead singer of back in the day, System of a Down, and say, what is this song about? And he would answer the Armenian genocide.
Yeah.
And the beauty of rock has been siphoned out of it to the point where the only thing to listen to are the old groups, because all the new stuff is very direct, shoved into a box. This is what you're going to sing about. You're going to sing about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Let's party. Well, I don't think people that listen to rock really care for that anymore. Yeah. So I think that's why rock has been destroyed on a grander scale. And if you want to hear good rock music, you're going to a local show.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's if you learn anything from this podcast today, let's go to a local show.
Yeah.
Because that's where good music's at.
Yep.
I think it was a photographer, Lou Brutus, I think it's his name, Brodus.
I have no idea.
I think it's Brodus. Anyway, but I think a guy, I follow Shaman's Harvest on Facebook. Yeah. I've become buddies with those guys, and they got, Lou is I guess a pretty legendary photographer, and he got a picture of them like at Oklahoma or one of the big festival kind of things, and it was a great shot, and they shared it, and that's why I started following Lou on, because he had some cool pictures, but he also puts up these great quotes, and there was a quote, something like along the lines of like, people that say there's no good music out there anymore quit listening to music in high school. And so, like, they just assume that those are the only bands they like because they're the ones they've learned in high school. They haven't took a chance to go out and discover more great music. There's all sorts of things that, and I don't know, along that kind of vein, people are always saying like, I like this kind, 70s classic rock or whatever. If you like that, there are other people that like that music too that are making new music that kind of sounds something like that. It's not, it's not covered, but it falls along the same vein of 70s rock, with so it's just that kind of thing. If you go out and look for it, it's there. It's just not shoved down your throat on the radio and everything else. So we don't have the MTV anymore. We don't have VH1. All those things are dried up. They're all reality shows, and now so it's like it would. Nobody's really making discovering bands on TV through that stuff anymore. It's all through word of mouth and internet and stuff. If you that is one thing I think is pretty great is is Pandora. If you can get yourself on Pandora or Spotify and stuff, like, even though people really kind of rip on it because they're not really paying great royalties and stuff, but I do feel like it's a powerful tool to kick up suggested artists where you can kind of get linked in with a bunch of stuff.
Definitely. And the funny thing about Pandora is if you pay attention to music styles, almost every style and genre of music has gone through a renaissance or a major boom in its lifetime. And like we talked about, the rock genre is kind of it's in a sleeping state. I fully believe rock will make a full-fledged comeback and overshadow everything else. What it will take, I don't know. But the funny thing about Pandora is, if you actually listen to pop music outside of the go-to Katy Perry's and the outside of the big people, pop's kind of having that thing where rock had in the 90s. They're having that big boom of new artists and stuff. So Pandora is amazing for that. You're listening and then you're like, who the fuck's this? You're like, I love this. So it's kind of interesting to see that happen.
I usually I don't get to do it a lot, but if I ever get to sit and turn on Pandora, like whatever, you put in any band name, you're going to get kicked up a bunch of stuff you never heard, and I just sit there with a notepad and start writing names down because it's all stuff that I love that I haven't been able to discover yet. So it's fun. I've kind of told the story, and I've had him tell the story on the show, even part of it. But one of my favorite singers is Patrick Sweeney. He's a blues rock kind of stuff, and he actually, one of his records, even before that, Dan Auerbach was in his band. They grew up in Akron, Ohio together, and Dan was in his band when they were in the Patrick Sweeney band. And Dan said, hey, I want to go start this new project, and he went and started the Black Keys, and he gave Pat an early listen to what he was working on with ended up being the Big Come Up, their debut album. And he's like, just help me train your replacement, man, because he knew he was going to be long gone. That was and of course Black Keys took off and became very successful, and then Dan actually produced Pat's album, and he's falls in a similar vein to the Black Keys kind of music. And so on Pandora now, he gets kicked in with the suggestions when people listen to Black Keys on there. So through the power of Pandora, his song "Them Shoes" is the one that gets in the algorithm. And that single song outsells his entire catalog of music. So it's the internet works, man. If you can find out how to get your stuff in there.
It's awesome because Pandora is an anomaly. It is the HBO of music. And even with the free users, you could the one or two ads every once in a while, but now it's fully user supported. There's very little outside connections financially. So Pandora has that ability to be like, okay, let's throw this artist into our database. Let's throw that artist. Or people could be like, hey, check this out. So the cool thing is, where radio, you got these guys that are like, we're going to give you so many hundreds of $1,000s, and we want you to play this song X amount of times for the next month. You don't have that problem on Pandora. So it's kind of an anomaly. My only concern with that is, I don't know how much people have been into internet history and market history on the internet, but the question is for how long?
Sure.
Because big record labels know that.
Yeah.
And they're not too friendly about that all the time.
Well, even so just recently, the last Taylor Swift album came out and wasn't on Spotify and things. The new Adele record is not on Spotify. There's a lot of labels and artists that are like refusing to put their stuff out there. And what's crazy is it forced people to buy it. I guess I don't know. Well, I mean, granted, they are to the extreme. They're two of the biggest names in the country or in the world. But those two albums, like Taylor Swift broke the record with her album, and then I think Adele broke her record when her album sales came out. So it's like, but obviously for independent local artists, like we'll take any help we can get. So but yeah, it's but yeah, so I don't know. It's but yeah, you like I said, the labels know they're trying to do all they can to put money in their own pocket, not somebody else's. So
yeah, I really hope OpenNet sticks around. Pandora is able to survive.
Sure.
As long as we don't have some crooks in there really going head against copyright issues. Yeah. I hope it's an anomaly that sticks around because it's really good for music.
Yeah. So, speaking of all this, we're you guys. So, Advocating Adam has the one album out, right?
We have nothing out.
Nothing out. Oh, it's all the tracks that were on there on the. I don't know if that was.
Well, we have tracks out, but no album.
Yeah, no album. So.
Eventually, there will be an album.
Yeah.
Eventually, there's zero promise of it right now for when and where and how. My thinking is most of the time when somebody releases an album, what happens is people will latch onto one song if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Go and find it on YouTube, and then through whatever means they'll listen to the one song.
Yeah.
The days of albums are almost over.
Sure.
Albums are not made for fans. Albums are made for musicians because they could hold it and be like, "Look what we made."
Sure. Oh, yeah. You want to see a lot of them, like vinyl's making a big comeback, and I think a lot of that's because they're fans of vinyl, one, the artist, and they think it. They personally want to see their name on a record. The same thing. It's not for the fans really. It's for them that's exciting to see. But
I think what's going to happen with Advocating Adam is when we are excited about a song, we're going to record it, and then we're going to release it. Once we have a collection of songs we're excited about, they may already be released, and we'll just put them on a CD.
Yeah.
So it's kind of backwards.
I think I don't think that's a bad idea. I think especially with like I said, we're talking about our kind of modern era music where we're living in. You got to get creative. And I spoke with or I follow him. I purchased the album and stuff, but there's a band I like. And that's kind of what they did. That did like a single a month kind of deal. Yeah. And after 12 singles, so maybe when they started, I'm sure they had a couple ready to go to record, but that's not to say that every one of them was even written at the time. So they're constantly writing along the way, and then when they get excited about something, they went in the studio and they cut it and released it, and like you're talking about, and but at the end of the 12 months, the year, they put the record together, they have an album, and now that's out to sell.
That's really my take on it. We'll see what happens in the future. I don't like promises because promises are easily broken, and I don't want to be the guy that breaks promises.
Sure.
The other thing I would say is bands don't make money off CD sales unless they're major artists. So with that being said, people, one way or another, they're going to find your music to listen to it if they want it. And another issue I've always taken with CDs is if I ever get to that point, I don't want to criminalize my fan base. So no matter what, everything we ever do will always be available for free. Because I don't want to turn people that love music into criminals because they broke some stupid law. So a CD, I would love one. You know, just to be like, look, I have a CD, my band has a CD, and I think every member in the band would love that too. But as far as music, you know, people don't love a CD because it's got a pretty rapper and a book. Yeah. People love a CD because the music's good. Sure. So I'd rather just give people the music, like you said, you know, the one single a month or however it's done. I'd rather just be like, here's the music. If you love us, support us. If you want to give us $10 for a hard copy, we'll more than gladly take your money. Yeah. So that's kind of where we stand there. No CD right now.
Yeah. Do you know Fro the Wandering Madman? Have you ever heard of him yet?
Probably not.
Yeah. Fro is a guy that I really admire him. Like he's from the area. At least lived here for a while. I don't know his whole story, but I know he spends a lot of time. He turned he had like a box truck kind of, and he put like a garage door type of on the side there, and he mounted speakers, and he made it essentially a mobile stage where he lives in this van throughout on his tour and stuff, and then he'll pull up to festivals or even as a parking lot and play out to the crowd. Rolls up the window and opens the speakers up, and he's got his keyboard. He's a loop artist, so he's got his keyboard, guitar, and he's got a little electric drum pad kind of, and he creates all this music live in front of the people. And he has out there on the front of the or on the side of the box truck, he has little baskets full of burned CDs with all of his music, whatever you want to take, but he survives on tips. He gives it all the music away for free, and he survives on people's generosity. If they want to pay for something, and then there's he'll accept, but he lives off of the generosity of others and not charging for it. He believes in the similar thought that the art should be for free. So
and it's kind of funny because, like I said before, every song I do is a conversation to somebody. I've never seen a single person other than a politician walk up and say, I'm going to talk to you, but first give me money. Yeah. So, with that mindset, it's if I'm going to have a conversation through music, then it needs to be for free. Yeah. The cool thing about the world we live in now, it's with all the technology at our fingertips. Artists, both not only in music but in graphic design and graphic novels, YouTube videos, video games, everything across the platform, they're stepping away from the old way that people used to monetize products, and they're really getting into if somebody loves it, then they'll support you. So it's really cool that we're in that age right now. If somebody loves your stuff, you can make a living with it. Yeah. If it sucks, maybe you can't. Yeah. Or maybe you can.
Well, man, I love it. I don't know what that means, but I do. I think it's great. Like thanks. I said, I really enjoyed some of the songs. So we got them on the SoundCloud. You said there's the your personal SoundCloud and your
there's both. There's SoundCloud that's Ellesa Vec, and there's Advocating Adam, and we have both the Facebook page for both Advocating Adam and Ellesa Vec. Yeah. We have a website for Advocating Adam, but let's be honest, nobody goes to websites anymore. Yeah. Well, why would you unless you're buying a T-shirt, So, it's pretty much if you search Ellesa Vec or Advocating Adam, you'll find it somewhere. Yeah. So.
So we'll close this out with a couple of those songs. What would play? Halo.
Halo's a good one. Yeah. Play that.
What else do you want to play? I usually like to start the show with one and then end with one. So
That's a good question, man. Yeah. as somebody that's listening to it from the outside, I think I'll let you take that opinion.
All right. Well, if I'm picking, I'm going to pick Holy of Holies.
That works for me.
We discussed those two, so I think that'd be appropriate to play those. And anything else? Like I said, hit up the SoundCloud, give them a listen. We'll close this out with a last thought with 2016. Looking ahead, what do we have? We don't have any shows on the calendar, but
no, we don't.
What is a goal for a personal goal or a band goal that we're looking to for 2016?
I have this habit of silence, but I'll say this: we dropped off the December show because things are changing, and 2016 we're going to make a mess. Yeah, we're going to make an absolute mess, and people will be very aware of our presence in St. Louis. All right. So I'll say that.
I'm excited, man. I'm
awesome,
I'm looking forward to. I think 2016 is going to be a very good year for St. Louis music. So, there's a lot of people getting on board and the right mindset and the working together. And there's the best of talent. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for us. So yeah. But yeah, I will. This has been fantastic, man. Thanks for taking some time out to hang out with me. And
for sure, man. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, I'll see you soon, man.
All right, thanks.
You're my holy, holy, holy water. You're the reason I can't bring myself to breathe. My amazing grace inside this world of slaughter. You're my everything, my eternity. You're my holy of holies. You bring me to my knees, my holy of holies. You bring me to my knees, my holy of holies. You bring me to my knees, my holy of holies. Sin has never felt much better than when you got me on my knees. Oh, I'm begging God for all of her forgiveness. Oh, this love I have is crucifying me. You're my holy of holies. You bring me to my knees, my holy of holies. You bring me to my knees, my holy of holies. You bring me to my knees, my holy of holies. And I would lay me down beside your throne if I knew how. The world's got gods and kings, but it never meant a thing to me. Hold me inside your grace, just a broken man. I was born to pray. So take me inside your heaven. You're my holy of holies. You bring me to my knees, my holy to my knees, my holy holies.
People Podcast. Rock People Podcast. Rock People Podcast, y'all.